Everybody wants to say they like natural hair until the natural hair is kinky. Everybody wants to say they like locks until the locks are freeform. Everyone wants to say they like blackness until the blackness is dark. Not me, though.
Welcome to the day in the life of a trans woman. First, I wake up intended to get as much attention as possible because I'm trans. I then get on my computer to start spreading trans propaganda, getting children and other to transition. That's what I'm all about. Due to my only personality trait being that I'm trans, I usually don't do a lot and I just stare at the wall all day. But then it's time for makeup. Yay! Since I'm so feminine without any personality traits whatsoever, I usually put a lot of makeup on and I try to lure and deceive as many men as I possibly can. Now that I'm all done and dolled up, it's time to go out into the world and deceive men. When I get home, it's time to do my favorite thing of the day. I start spreading hormones outside my window to affect as many people as I possibly can.
Community service is not hot. Rehab, that's not hot. Jail is not hot. Hillary Duff is not hot. I'm 10.
One time, we fell behind me, over my shoulder. Turn around, try to see, but it's nowhere. Boy, static on my blood side. I see footage, I stay naughty. I see footage, I see footage. I stay naughty, I see footage. I see.
What a cool and funny chant. I wonder if it's led by this really hot and sexy trans girl. What? No way!
You used to call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need my love. Call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need my love. If I know when that hotline blink, that can only mean one thing. I know when that hotline blink, it can only mean.
I'm trying to find the words to describe this girl without being disrespectful. Damn, girl. She's a sexy chick. A sexy chick.
So I just made the switch from a male doctor to a woman doctor. And while we're in our appointment just now, I was like, hey, I need to get like a renewal in my birth control. Can you put that in for me? She's like, yeah, no problem. Like, what birth control you on? And I was like, Depo-Provera. And she like looks at me and she's like, you're on Depo? And I was like, yeah, I've been on it for the last 10 years. You know, I don't get a period. That's why I like it. And her jaw drops to the floor. She's like, did you say 10 years? And I was like, yeah, like a decade. Yes. And she's like, holy shit. Like, no, Morgan, this is like a 2-year max birth control. Like, this is not a long-term birth control. And I was like, what? She's like, your last doctor never shared that with you? Like, this is not a long-term thing? And I was like, no, he would just like put in for it. I get the call saying like, hey, you're up for renewal. And I go in and get it. Like, no, he never told me that. And she's like, yeah, we're getting you off that immediately. Like, no birth control for a bit. Like, let's just get the hormones out of your body. So, of course, I go on Google and start Googling, like, what the long-term effects of being on Depo are. And I'm fucking just stressing out. And I'm like, that's why I shouldn't leave my fucking reproductive health in the hands of a negligent man.
Oh, she does not really like being held like that. If you could support her back a little more, she'd appreciate it. What are you talking about? She's fine. You're fine, right? She's a baby. I will skin you with my teeth. Please put my daughter down.
I highly recommend Revolutionary Suicide by Huey P. Newton. I only want to speak to my own experience, although I'm sure other people will relate to this, but I remember growing up being taught that the Black Panther Party were like a group of violent extremists, like borderline domestic terrorists. And if you don't know, Huey P. Newton is one of the founders of the Black Panther Party. Not only does this book talk about like his manifesto, Revolutionary Suicide, but it also talks about him growing up. It is a beautifully written, I think, autobiography of the timeline and how Huey developed his political consciousness. This book does an excellent job of exhibiting just how unjust our judicial system, our prison system, and our policing system are. Like, I genuinely think that this book should be a mandatory read for every high school US history class. The content in this is that important, and once my kids are old enough to read it, I will be making them read it.
Why don't you get it? Can't you get it? Understand? They're gonna execute the mother to elevate the man. They're gonna propagate the killer, eliminate the youth. They're gonna blind date everyone until you love them too.
Let's talk about police and prison abolition. As an anarchist and police and prison abolitionist, if there's one question I get asked the most, it's what do we do with the murderers and those who commit heinous acts? Oftentimes people misrepresent or misunderstand what it's meant by police and prison abolition, and these questions are the best examples of that. When communists talk about police and prison abolition, and by communists I mean both Marxists and anarchists, obviously it doesn't mean to just shut down prisons and let people run the streets freely. Well, I mean, in a sense it does, but there's a system. As communists, we want to focus on the main issues as to why crime happens. And statistics have shown that crime is indicative of poverty as the economic reasoning. But as communists, we don't just focus solely on the economic reasoning. We understand that there's a social reason, as in social constructs that hold people back. And oftentimes those social constructs have to do with disenfranchisement due to patriarchy, homophobia, racism, xenophobia, and the list goes on. And all of these things affect a person's economic situation. We call this socioeconomics. The actual definition of socioeconomics is the social science that studies how economic activity affects and is shaped by social processes. And so what this means is that a person's financial situation can be shaped by how society views them. And society's view of them can change due to the color of their skin, their perceived gender at birth, the gender they identify as, or even something as simple as what country they're from. And understanding these socioeconomic impacts is what helps us build systems that can help us abolish police and prisons. As communists, we believe in restorative and transformative justice. Transformative justice has to do with changing socioeconomic systems in order for socioeconomic class status to not affect people. In a nutshell, if crime is indicative of poverty, then us communists want to get rid of poverty in order to get rid of crime. And for the crime that still happens, we have restorative justice, which means to give restoration to the victims of whatever crime, by whichever means the victim deems necessary. Most studies show that victims of crimes just want answers and accountability. Being able to provide restorative justice gives them those answers and accountability, as well as teaching the perpetrator of the crime how to take responsibility. And transformative justice makes sure they don't commit the crime again by getting them what it is that they need in order to not commit the crime. I hope that makes sense, because if it doesn't...
POV, you're an egg in the comment section of a DID system. Wait, is that not normal? Well, I do a lot of this, but it's because I have ADHD. I relate to this video a lot, but it's because I have maladaptive daydreaming. A lot of this sounds like me, but it's just the autism. LOL, why do I keep ending up on DID talk? I'm not a DID system, but you guys are super relatable and funny. I'm not a system, I'm just gender fluid and I named the other gender. I'm not a system, I just have an inner voice and its name is Glinda. I'm not a system, but I do relate to all of this. Oh. Haha, if you guys don't stop being so relatable, I need to talk to my doctor. Maybe I should talk to my therapist. Maybe I should talk to my psychiatrist. Maybe I need to have a conversation with the southern accent in the back of my head that keeps telling me we need to have a conversation. Okay, this video is not accurate at all because I do all of these things and actually my childhood was not that bad. Like, definitely my parents were a little hard on me at times, but you know what? They're good parents and I still love them, so I definitely don't have DID. I do all of this, but my childhood wasn't that bad. At least I don't think so. I can't remember anything. I don't have DID, but I'm on DID content a lot because I love your guys' stuff, and also my wife is a system, and all my friends are systems. I relate to a lot of this, but it's just because I have maladaptive daydream disorder and PPDR, and I'm ADHD, and also I have a lot of childhood trauma. Why, yes, I imagine you do relate.
And I can't take it back, so in the past is where we'll leave it. So there you go. Oh, can't make a wife out of a white man. No!
I wanna push you in 7 position for 70 minutes, you get it, babe. You got a lot on your mind and I wanna ease it up.
Cindy, you accidentally left $1 in my hand.
Keep it.
Why?
I think you know why.
I don't. Why are you winking at me? Why did you give me $1? My brain hurts.
Bum 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 bum. Wait, I can do that better. What if it's like?
At this point, we really all know that Ellen was nowhere near as nice as she portrayed on TV. One of the most awkward and uncomfortable interviews that Ellen did was with Taylor Swift. If you want more context, go watch my pop culture paint lesson about Dakota Johnson and Ellen. On October 25th, 2012, Taylor went on Ellen to promote the release of her album, Red. Ellen would not stop harassing her about her dating history. She decided to force Taylor to play a fun little game, where pictures of her rumored exes flashed up on screen and she would ring a bell if she dated them. Obviously, she didn't want to play.
You were here with your boyfriend, Zac Efron, last time. How's he doing?
We actually never dated.
Yes, you did.
I'll have to call Zac. Get the rights to it.
Well, you probably talked to him earlier today. How's he doing?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while because we didn't date.
Yes, you did. Why do you deny it?
Because we didn't.
Which song is about Zac on the new CD?
There's nothing really about Zac on the CD because we didn't date.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show pictures. Here's a bell, and you ring it when.
Oh my God.
All right. We'll show pictures.
I don't know if I'm going to do this.
Yeah, you will. All right.
We didn't date.
Give it up.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. To date. Okay. Hold it like you're going to ring it at some point. Okay. You're supposed to ring.
But I don't want to. I don't want to.
All right, I'll ring.
Because they'll send me angry emails and I don't want to get them.
I'll hold it for you. Date him.
We didn't
No,
date.
he's getting married. Okay.
We didn't date.
Hmm?
What are you doing to me? This makes me feel so bad about myself. Every time I come up here, you put like a different dude up there on the screen. And it just makes me really question like what I stand for as a human being.
Taylor was clearly really uncomfortable the entire time, and Ellen just would not stop the entire interview. There's one more that makes me extremely uncomfortable that I absolutely have to mention, and that's Mariah Carey. I'm doing a separate video for that one because I have fucking thoughts.
All white people are racist. Every single last one of them, all of them are racist. You uphold a system of racism by literally just being white.
It is 2023. 2023. I've been taking 3 different medications because I have 3 different illnesses. So sorry if I sound out of it, but back to what I was saying. This is one of those situations where you're fighting for a cause, you're speaking out about something, but your viewpoints get so extreme that you're now doing what you're fighting against. And do you know what I think? I think quarantine has to be the biggest factor of why we're seeing extreme viewpoints like this. You can't possibly fight racial injustice in this country and then immediately have your opening statement be categorizing and stereotyping a group of people based on the color of their skin. Your resentment toward far-right conservative white Americans does not give you the justification to group white people as a whole. It can't be all, right? I mean, it can't be the white South Americans, the white Central Americans, the white Africans, right? Because that doesn't make sense. It's not nice to call someone racist. We throw that word out to white people so much, it's like, really, it's really not nice. So that video was taken down, I think, or reported, and they had something to say about that.
So when I exercise my right to use my free speech as a child on an app for children, suddenly all these adults are up in arms reporting my videos? Do I not have a right to free speech just because it conflicts with yours? Your subjective ideas, I can't express my subjective ideas because you don't agree with them? It's free speech this, free speech that until it's somebody black, huh?
Let's cut the music real quick, right? You and I both know that you're smart enough and old enough to willingly post videos on TikTok about your opinions or whatever you want, right? So don't pull this, I'm a child, you're an adult, take a look at yourself, right? It doesn't work. Ignore the trolls, right? Nobody is saying that you don't have the freedom of speech to speak your opinions on social media. Because we both know that freedom of speech can come with consequences. And those consequences come with criticism, backlash, your videos taken down, and not to mention TikTok's report system is very shitty. And I know all this because for the past 2 years that I've been speaking to my opinions, I've been in the same situation as you. People mass report my videos, they don't think I should be able to have a voice, they report my account, they ban my account, they suspend my account. I've gone through all of it. But I'm not gonna sit here, grab my phone, make a video of myself alone in my bedroom and complain about how my freedom of speech is being taken away. It's the perk of being a small creator on TikTok.
Here's some of the ways my beautifully autistic partner has helped my little ADHD ass get into gear, get my life organized. First, we have our cleaning schedule, which breaks it down into days, months, and weeks, so I can compartmentalize my chores. Then we have our weekly meetings, which have our goals for the week, as well as our monthly meetings, which has our highs and lows, our monthly goals, and there's heaps of dopamine hits, and a cow. And this is our expense calendar, so it keeps it nice and chill. And this is our events calendar, which isn't always that chill. But we also have our TAFE and work schedule, so I know when they're coming home. And this is our little sensory zen room where we can chill out and spend our mornings with coffee and pet the dog. Hi, dog. And this is my study, which has like all my favorite things, and my partner let me be at the one at the window so I can look out into the garden, and I'm just like super grateful they're the best.
I don't know, Coconuts, this might be my first coloring fail. I decided to dust off the old Sharpies because I haven't used them in a while and I really do love coloring with them. I started off strong with a nice eye look and I was 100% confident that this girl was gonna slay. You know, business as usual. Until I started with the skin. This marker is one of my favorite skin tones from the portrait pack. When I tell you this thing was drier than a Popeye's biscuit, it was cramping my hand up, y'all, and I tried my best to layer to cover up my sins, but she was gone. Like super streaky. Streakerella. Bust down Streakiana. And it was just too late by that point. And then my color pencils, you know they always gotta cut up. Like, really? Right now? And it's the fact that I still have to do her neck and hands for me. By the time I finished doing this neck, I looked at those hands like, get somebody else to do it. Luckily, all my other markers were working perfectly fine, nice and juicy, so I didn't have any other problems throughout this piece, but the skin is always like my favorite part. So the fact that I started out like that was a devastating blow. At least we got that lip gloss popping. Notice how them hands are still blank. When I tell you I had to coach myself to bring myself back to these hands because she was about to end up with some gloves on. But I took it slow and in small circular motions and we were able to cross the finish line. And that marker went straight in the trash. Well, this is how she turned out. Not bad, but definitely not my fave.
Today at work, we had a customer come in and notice my pin, which says he, him on it. And he asked where I got it from. To which I said, this really, really cool hobby shop right down the road. And he looked at me and went, "Are you forced to wear it?" And I said, "No, I'm not forced to wear it." He goes, "Then why do you wear it?" And I said, "Well, my dad was transgender. I have a transgender nephew, and I respect and honor the identity of other trans people." And he just looked at me and went, No, that's not right." He said, "No, they're not okay in the head." He goes, "What would you do if somebody wants to kill somebody? Like they need to kill somebody. What would you do?" I said, well, you give them the help so they don't feel that way anymore. He was, exactly. You give them the help so they become better. And I said, and the help for trans people is gender-affirming care. He once again changed the subject, this time bringing up hormones and specifically Leah Thomas, the swimmer, to which I pointed out that in that same meet, Leah Thomas lost 2 races, ranking fairly low in the rankings. I also brought up the fact that this past week, a trans man beat the ever-loving bejesus out of a cisgendered male fighter. I also brought up the fact that if you look at the hormone levels of a trans woman, they align in the normal range of a cis woman, and the same for a trans man. He once again changed the subject, trying to tell me that all of the great empires throughout human history have collapsed due to being accepting of transgender people, to which I said, no, that's not true. That's not how history worked. I'm like, for example, take Rome. Rome did not crumble and collapse because of that. Rome collapsed and crumbled for the same reasons the United States is doing it. Military overreach, military spending, corruption in the government, the 1% draining everything away from the bottom 99%, and many other reasons, none of which were trans people. To my fellow cis people, it is beyond time that we stop being passive and we be vocal for our trans siblings. Our greatest resource in this is trans people, listening to what they have to say. They know because they have lived it, and most of them have looked at the studies. They know. We need to listen to them. And for that guy that came in the store, I made sure to go back down to that hobby shop, and I got another pen, just on the off chance I take my flannel off.
There are only 2 genders. 2 sexes, maybe. 3 with intersex. But an infinite amount of genders. I think you mean
I genuinely hate people like the person I stitched because they make it seem as if both sides of the argument are equally justifiable, or both are just like equally valid opinions when, like, you know, trans people are just dying. So like I'm gonna actually break down like I guess 4 of the major points that I see against trans people, starting with transness in history. This map is from pbs.org, and basically every single blue dot that you see, it has a culture in that area or region that has transgenderism as a concept. I don't know if these are like all for the modern geography or if this includes ancient geography. So when someone starts telling you that like transgenderism is a Western concept, or it's like a new modern concept, or it's like this liberal thing, they're lying to you, because it's existed, you know, in ancient India, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient China, ancient African diasporas, Native American diasporas, all across history. So yeah, there's that. Now, the second biggest argument against trans people is in athletics, and for that, I'll go to ACLU, where they inform people that trans athletes have been competing in sports for decades without issues. Please note all the international competitions that are in there. And also, a person's sex assigned at birth does not inherently advantage or disadvantage them in competition. So what does that mean for trans athletes, everybody? That they don't have an inherent advantage, and that all of those news stories that you see about like trans athletes crushing records and just like, you know, absolutely dominating their fields, maybe all of it's just some propaganda. Like maybe all of it's just to get you to hate trans people. So the third argument that you see against trans people a lot is the bathroom argument. And I want people to take 5 seconds to really critically think what life is like as a trans person. The amount of suffering and the amount of invalidation that you get from the world around you, the amount of psychological testing that has to be done in order for you to be socially accepted as a trans person. You think someone would go through all of that just to harass and sexually assault people at a bathroom when men get away with sexually assaulting and sexually harassing women on the street or in public or in private pretty much all the time? Why would anyone want to be a trans person in order to get away with that? Nobody ever does that. Nobody ever does that. That's a lie. The last major argument I always see against trans people is that it's too many labels or that the labels are irrelevant. And like, my point to everyone is that yes, the labels are irrelevant. And yes, we are human. But like, let people express how they want to express themselves then. Whether you want to use one label or no labels or all of the labels, just like let people do what the fuck they want. That's the whole point of being outside the gender binary.
I make $180,000 a year as a software engineer. Damn, dude, that's a lot. That's like 2 to 5 times as much as anyone else I know. Yeah, I've heard it's pretty rough out there for other industries. Do you ever feel weird about that? Earning so much more than most other people while so many people are struggling? I mean, not really. It's a bummer that other people are struggling, but I earn as much as I do because engineers are super valuable. If a team of 50 engineers builds an app that has global reach and is worth $500 million, then every engineer at that company is providing, on average, $10 million of value. That's why we're paid so much. You think so? Yeah, of course. What else would it be? I mean, under capitalism, employees are not compensated based on how much value they provide for their employers. They're compensated according to how little their employer can possibly pay them based on the labor market for their position. The reason you're paid so much is because there's been a shortage of software engineers for over a decade, meaning that individual employees in that field have a lot of bargaining power when it comes to compensation. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but isn't the high demand for software engineers based on the value they provide? I mean, in part, yes, but demand doesn't determine compensation on its own, and we can pretty clearly see this by looking at the fact that you don't produce all the value that you are talking about all on your own. Even if we ignore everyone else working at your specific company and assume that it's just the engineers at your company producing whatever app it is you produce by themselves, that app still requires physical hardware to run on. People have to extract raw materials and process those materials and manufacture them into phones and computers. I'm also assuming that your app probably uses the internet, which requires a fair bit of physical hardware that needs to be built and maintained over time. It's not like engineers are just sitting in a vacuum manifesting dollar bills with each keystroke. There are a lot of other necessary workers involved in the process, and by and large, those workers are compensated far less than software engineers because, once again, compensation under capitalism is not about value. It is about how easily the workers are exploitable. You are fortunate at the moment to be in a not particularly exploitable position. However, industries change over time, and that will not always be the case. What are you getting at? Are you saying I should be paid less? I do not think that engineers should be paid less. I think that everyone else should be paid more, but I often hear this idea from engineers that they deserve to make multiples of what most other working people make because of the value they provide, and it always rubs me the wrong way. Why? Two main reasons. Firstly, there's an implication that if engineers deserve to be doing so well because of how much value they provide, well, people who are not doing so well, people who are struggling, must deserve to be struggling because they're not providing enough value. You're subtly signing off on the idea that capitalism is a meritocracy, which it absolutely is not. Secondly, I think this mindset makes it really easy for engineers to forget that at the end of the day, they too are workers at the whims of the ruling class. You might be well paid for now, but you are still, under capitalism, just a commodity. This self-congratulatory mindset about the value engineers create stands in the way of meaningful solidarity for other workers who really need it. Huh. Why have you thought about this so much? Are you an engineer? I have been for most of the last decade, but at the moment I'm trying something different. It pays a lot less, but the value it provides is much more clear and direct, and so far I'm enjoying the work a lot more.
You would have known that if you actually read the study that I cited for you.
Explain it to me, Niall. Please explain it
Gladly.
to me.
So
how did
what
they
they
find
did,
out that they were less depressed?
Yeah,
Give me the information.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. So what they did was they used diagnostic screening criteria for clinical depression. And what they found is that compared to before treatment versus after treatment, 60% less of the trans youth even qualified for the clinical diagnostic criteria of clinical depression.
What is this amazing technology I've never heard of?
They used screening criteria from, I think it was the PHQ-9 or the PHQ-8.
It literally states only 60% were doing much better with their depression. You know anything about the science about science, you need to have like an at least 95% success rate.
Actually, in terms of depression studies, 60% is amazing. The average antidepressant has a depression remission rate of just 30%. And the best antidepressants we have on the market have a depression remission rate of 50.78%.
Shit like this brings the movement down. Everyone's a feminist until there is a spider around.